kick back to the issues already as thoughts, though.
Has been whatever you prefer.
Sorry, folks. Usually, this one was closed 12 days ago. Man, sorry. This is really boring, guys.
Also resolved on that one.
This is the best meeting possible. Realizing that all this is already resolved. This is great, Tyler.
Yeah, I came in 20 minutes ago being like, "Holy shit, guys, we are behind." But this is music to my ears. Yeah, and nice. Looks like this one's already been, the bounty's been paid out as well. Hell yeah.
Well, they were just talking about this in a thread. I think that's,
and this one's been done as well.
Oh, nice.
Sweet. We got 3 that are bugs in beta.
And those, I mean, just for the sake of going over them, it's missing Litecoin asset, BTC to Litecoin trade on mobile app failed, and error messaging when sending Atom and Keep Key. I know error messaging with Atom is being discussed in triage, or there's a thread in triage. We just need to update a few things on the back end. I believe Conscious and Atom are working on that in their free time. The LTC issue is definitely...
This one, it's an error message on minimum trade for Thor pairs. We don't have complete error messaging for people who would meet the minimum requirement, but the network fees would still eat up all of the input values, so you wouldn't get anything on the output. So this is something we definitely fought for a long time previously. Sounds kind of complicated in code, and basically we've just got a couple of users who did $10 Bitcoin trades or whatever the small minimum amount between Bitcoin and Litecoin is that didn't get on the output, and this might have to come out of reimbursing from the We Foxed Up fund. But I'm not sure if we want to spend the time digging to fix that. I guess I'd defer to you too, Fox.
Yeah, I'm making a note for myself right now. I would imagine, fixing it in beta would be a bit of a lift. I feel like we could pretty easily just add some copy, warning users about minimums, and then just making sure that we have better error handling in V2 when we integrate it, which should be relatively, soon, so to speak. It's definitely on the roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Would be my vote, unless anyone has a strong opinion otherwise.
It doesn't sound like it. The only other one on this bug in beta too is the missing Litecoin asset, and I think this is potentially being two different issues with Litecoin being conflated. One of users who are buying Litecoin through Banksa, and we're sending Litecoin to not the Litecoin address there. Hey, Neverwas, you got a hot mic. And then 2 is there are people with Litecoin balances that the Litecoin as an asset is just not even showing up as an available asset to select and show. So I believe that both of those things are happening here, and I believe that both of those things are regressions that have happened previously.
Correct, yeah.
I'm not sure what we want to dedicate to that, especially if Litecoin is a fast follow on Unchained coming into app.shapeshift.com.
I'm not sure we've discussed Litecoin specifically for V2 app. That being said, with the UTXO work being done, obviously, for Bitcoin, I would imagine that we could even hopefully bounty Litecoin or any other UTXO eventually. Ocean, any insight on that?
Not quite ready, but definitely something in the future that I hope that we're able to. I think there's some non-trivial things that need to be figured out until we're able to kind of really have people go ahead and rip on multi-chain endeavors.
And is that work that we need to do on Unchained itself to get it ready, or is that still work we need to do inside app, or both?
I think that there's work from a product perspective inside of app, but there is work in Unchained from a perspective of how we want to abstract away any of the complexities for like any of the UTXO chains. And then I think that there's still conversations revolving around the behavior within app in terms of those same abstractions to make it like as simple as possible to onboard a new chain. So I know everyone's thinking about it, and I have some time spec with Adam when I get back from my trip in February to try to figure that out. But I don't think we're quite there yet.
Okay. Yeah, I still feel comfortable with the fact that I mean, I don't know. Actually, we offer it on beta, but there are people who can't see it on beta. So I'm not exactly sure how much of this we want to escalate to a prod issue if some people still can't see Litecoin, but maybe we need to do deeper recreations. I just know Ops hasn't been able to fully recreate the unable to see Litecoin asset here. So
sorry to step on your toes there, Tyler.
No.
Once we're able to recreate it, I mean, my working theory has been ever since this was first an issue, however many months or years ago back in centralized shapeshift, is that it's just the derivation path of that we're reading, and that it is the Litecoin is being sent to the user, just a different address than what's like whatever the account number 1 or account number 0 is scanning for and being displayed. Because whenever this issue happened, at least in the past, and when I was working with users, it was always sent to a brand new Litecoin address. It's not like it's getting sent to a random address or an address that already has a balance. It's always a brand new, never used Litecoin address, which makes me think it's just like account 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that. But I was never able to verify that. But if we could verify that if we are able to recreate it, then I know what is it? Electrum has a Litecoin client that we can put in custom derivation paths. So if we can recreate it, I'd love to be able to mess around with that.
I'm in full support.
And I know that like I was able that I only and again I say that because I know we were able to solve it for some users. It was just complex, and it's not for a beginner user. You're pretty much having them download the Electrum client and importing a seed phrase and then manually typing in a derivation path. It's definitely something that's complicated and requires some hand holding. So if we can confirm that is the solution, then I bet you we could work with support and like build out an article for how to resolve it.
I'm in full support of that instead of spending time trying to actually solve the actual issue.
So that might just be getting some testing funds from ops and just doing a few banks of buys or a few Litecoin transactions and just, trying to fall into this issue.
All right, cool. I'm okay with that. And yeah, I definitely do think that it's worth it for us to solve this Atom issue of sending, because it looks like we're pretty close to it, but I'm definitely down to navigate and offer troubleshooting mitigation steps for these other 2 ones that doesn't require technical resolution. I got 2 more GitHub issues. Number 706. This is a kind of a big boy issue, and I'm not exactly sure if it's this is one that like has been tried to be bountied and got kicked back across for us. The main issue we're talking about is incorrect balance for USDC after trading from ETH to USDC. I believe it might actually be wider framed than just USDC. But
I think this is the exact same issue as Yearn and everything else we were just talking about, that it just won't update automatically. So we need to refresh. I would assume that once the user refreshes that the balance is now correct.
Mm-hmm. Is this actionable motion for us to turn into a bounty, or did you guys need to go back and really break apart the work here to get move forward on this?
Don't think it's bountyable right now. I think we need probably Kevin to take a look at it, or I'm not sure. Maybe DeFi has a different plan with it, but not bountyable at the moment.
do we feel comfortable with the current troubleshooting steps around not prioritizing this into being bounty?
I mean, it's obviously, it keeps popping up throughout the app, and it keeps getting reported, whether it's about a trade or a yearn or ETH to USDC or what have you. So yeah, I would love to get this prioritized and bountied if possible. It just sounds like it's not as simple as a bounty. So it really comes down to finding core dev time. We should kind of consolidate all these tickets into, if we do think that it is just one underlying issue, and kind of just make one issue for it. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely bring it up with DeFi and see if he thinks it's worth prioritizing. I just know everyone's so heads down on different releases and Cosmos and a few other things. This is definitely just becoming a little bit of a bottleneck with engineering resources.
I would bring it up. I mean, I think people are going to get pretty sick of it pretty quickly with the app. And maybe even if people are heads down, like someone could potentially figure out the path for this to work and get some spec around it for a bounty hunter. I mean, it's just not bountyable in the current state. Doesn't mean that it couldn't be bountied. So I mean, I think it's worth a conversation with DeFi to see his thoughts.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's probably the best outcome.
With this,
sorry, Tyler, go.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, that seems like the best case scenario is doing the initial work to at least get it bountyable and then bountying it. Because, yeah, that seems to be able to utilize our resources the best. What were you going to say?
My only other thought would be if it is something that seems slightly more complicated than a bountyable ticket, but if we have someone that maybe one of the new workstream additions like Gomez or Apotheosis, maybe this is something that we can tee up for someone with a little bit more skill set in there and with a little bit more trust in what they're doing. But I don't know, I guess I'm not trying to say that I know who to assign this to in priority. Just maybe that's another alternative if this is still complicated. Will you follow up with DeFi on this one?
Yep, I'll take ownership of that one. Yep.
Awesome, thanks, Box. I have.
And that's the guy. I'm guessing without understanding the back end code at all. I think these are the same issue, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I'm assuming the same as you. So I think you're right. This last one looks like the thing has been submitted, and Amito's already got paid on this last one as well. So props to Amito's for showing up and just knocking things out. Ops did find about 5 or 6 new things during testing today that we haven't drawn up and made triage tickets for, but we will have a handful of things coming down the pipeline that will be potentially bountyable. I don't know if it's best to pivot to Ron and have him talk about those things, or if our best plan of action would be to get those tickets made and then just start getting the GitHub issues handed out. Do we have GitHub grooming this week, or is it next week?
I think it's next Friday. Yeah. I know. Okay. GitHub grooming. 1 second. I'm looking at the wrong date. My bad. Yeah, next Friday.
Yeah, okay. I think we did it last. Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks out.
Okay. For these new ones that we'll have that we don't have tracked right now, would it be best to just start tagging you, Ocean, once we've got completed GitHub issues for that, for you to turn into bounties?
Yeah, feel free to create them and just assign me to them with the needs bounty label, and we can figure out if, even midweek, if they're whatever information we might need to get them bountied. So yeah, happy to do that.
Sweet. It looks like we kind of have a prod issue going on right now, and I don't want to defer our attention to it because it looks like the firefighters might have already solved the problem.
What is it?
Yeah, we definitely. clicking receive on ERC20s for assets that you've never received balances for before does not show the asset or the address. It's blank.
Yeah. Could you
Sneaky.
multitask, Tyler?
I'm not doing anything anymore. I've got a really great team that does everything.
Yeah, I can give an update on that. The newest branch does not have this issue. It's only live in prod currently. So once we push the new branch, everything should be fixed.
There we go.
Dope. I love that.
Same here.
I have a couple of things that we still need to do recreation on, but I feel like the most appropriate thing for while having everyone here is to be addressing tickets that are further on in the process and all the way at GitHub and making sure that we've recreated anything else. But I do want to offer up the floor if there's any other issues people have seen or things they'd like to discuss here. We can offer up the mic and the stage now. So if anyone else has anything they'd like to share.
Not so much an issue, but something I've been meaning to talk with you, Tyler, about. So I figured why not now? Just with testing, as these release branches come out, I know it's normally myself or someone else from product running the product section of it, and then normally you or never was or someone running the operations aspect. I was just saying in testing, it might be worthwhile if we chat a little bit to just make sure that we're not testing identical things. I know when I'm testing, I'm definitely doing it a little bit more with the product eye, making sure all the flows are acting properly, the UI UX is correct, the copy's correct, and I'm leaving a lot more of the actual like physical testing, things that require test funds, things like that, more to you and your operations team. And just wanted to make sure that I'm not just assuming that without telling anyone. So I want to see if you're okay kind of with that split, or if you had any thoughts on that.
I think it's a great conversation, and maybe since we have a little bit of time today, since we went through all the issues, we can take it to talk about the release process and what Ops is doing in testing and make sure we're not making any assumptions that are false here. But Ops has a full template of all expected behavior and features and functionality that we keep inside our Notion that we use for regression testing. And it's able to be duplicated across any device that you're using to test. And we, for every deploy, will test every single wallet that's applicable with that list right now. So we do test trades, sends and receives times 5, basically, for all of the wallets. And we don't do, like, for example, we won't do every single possible Thor pair. We can't do a yield or like a yearn flow for every single possible deposit and withdrawal, but we try and take on the most expected features. And then for things that we need to try and check all of the functionality, that's like a bigger list, like all of the different vaults, we kind of leave as side projects to follow up later. So there are a little bit of pockets in us not testing every single edge case, but we do try and test all of the main features to make sure that we've got everything there. And that's why test funds are so expensive.
That sounds like a great procedure and just routine you guys got going. So props to you and your team. That sounds awesome. Well, then, yeah, it sounds like between our two teams, we're definitely covering pretty much all aspects. And then, of course, we do rely on the community to be able to give feedback. If one specific yearn, contract isn't working or something like that, that's totally fine. It comes in as either a prod issue or a triage issue, and we can deal with it. And then cool. Well, then feel free to keep leaving out to myself or anyone else on the prod team. If you guys do find any bugs and need recreation, or especially anything that requires test funds, I'm probably going to leave in your guys' hands. But if you need a second pair of eyes or another wall to test it, then I'll just kind of wait from a ping from you or someone on your team letting me know specifically what they want me to test, if that's cool with you.
Absolutely. One thing we don't have in our purview is like those expected behaviors or flows. Like we're not going to dig and check all of the grammar of all of the copy all the time. And we do make a lot of assumptions about expected behavior sometimes because we aren't as intimately familiar with like the flow that you guys have spent that time on. So as long as that's something that's still kind of covered from the product lead for all of our releases, I think we're getting a good coverage of functionality and expected features.
Yeah, totally agreed. I think making those assumptions is probably fine. I'll definitely be looking over things with a fine-tooth comb for more detail-oriented testing. But if there's ever something that comes across you or your team where you're like, that doesn't seem like that's the correct flow, I mean, just because you guys aren't on the product team, obviously feel free to double check or post or ping or anything like that. Never hurts to confirm those things.
Totally. I think that's what we did earlier when we saw that one of the buttons said manage instead of deposit or something like that. But yeah, I think I'm happy with that and happy with the communication lines that we have so far.
Cool. Awesome.
Sweet. Cool. Does anyone else have any issues that they may have been seeing in the ShapeShift product right now? This meeting can also definitely be something that if you're a community member out there who has a user-facing issue, you can bring it to us here and we can triage it and address it. So any folks out there, feel free to speak up.
I will say on the feedback link that's on the new web app, we get a lot of feedback coming through onto the Notion doc that we have, and most of the feedback is all around different assets that they want supported. So just so you guys know, if anything, any bugs or something ever come in through there, usually we send them over to support to reach out to the person if they put their Discord handle, or if it's like an actual issue. But so far we haven't really had any real issues come through there. It's mostly just been asset requests and some other random things.
Yeah, it feels like people confuse features and bugs on the reg here.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm no lich, and I don't have all of the knowledge to be able to dig deep into all of these tickets more than what we've just done on the surface here. But I feel pretty comfortable about the status updates on the bounties. We could pivot over to the GitHub bug board itself to talk about the state of current bounties. I'm not sure if that's redundant here. Happy to defer the stage over to you, DeFi, or else we could also call it and get some time back to everyone.
Yeah, it might be a little repetitive, especially with our grooming. It just depends like who comes to what meetings, because like the GitHub grooming meeting every other Friday does seem to cover that a little bit. But yeah, if we can definitely review it if anyone on the call has any questions or if there's any items worth discussing. I love seeing all those purple check marks.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to take the silence as that people are pretty comfortable. It looks like, I don't know if Ron, you're trying to talk there and your mic is messed up, or if you're in like a perma-mute state, but that's the only thing I'm seeing from the community out here right now. Oh. All good. Cool. Well, that was productive and surprisingly easy considering almost everything is already bountied out. I appreciate all of you guys for joining us while we go through this list.
Right back at you, Tyler. Always appreciate you and your team. You guys are doing so much work every single day. I love seeing how active you guys are in the Discord.
It's a hamster wheel. We keep it rolling though. Appreciate you, Fox, for all of your insight and representation from the team. And thanks, Ocean, for keeping us in line here with all this stuff we don't know what we're talking about.
Anytime.
Cool. Well, we can kick on lo-fi here for a little bit, or else we can all just make our merry way. Make it a good GM, folks.
GM.